All right, Cyclone fans, welcome to the Coach Shawn Witten Show for the 2025 season. I'm Stacy Street along with my partner Tony Briggs and Coach Shawn Witten, head football coach of your Elizabethton Cyclones. Coach Witten, as we begin this 2025 season, let's kind of start a little bit about what your thoughts are on the team now that you've broken the fall camp and getting ready for tonight's game against the Hilltoppers.
Well, Stacy, I think the most important thing, just super proud of our commitment, in the off season, the guys that have been super loyal, getting there and holding this program together to build the foundation for the upcoming season. And then when you get guys back from multiple sports, they reel themselves back in, they go to work. That's what's really been impressive for me. And then, they've just been so inspired by the work that these guys have put in, the growth by our young guys, the willingness to show up each and every morning, from the time school's out till the time school starts, we're in the morning, whether it's on the weight room or on the field, before 7 a.m. We've sent all of our linemen to 3 camps this summer, to Tennessee, to Virginia Tech, UTSU. We went to a 7-on-7 camp, Virginia Tech. We've had more 7-on-7s in the month of July than we've ever had, just to try to get as much experience and much exposure and try to get up to speed. And it's just been, I don't know if for myself, remember a summer where we've had that much fun, just being around the guys, waiting for the next day, and enjoy really working with this group and seeing them improve.
And I promise you this will be the only time I'll do it this whole year, because I want to look forward a little bit, because this is our first show. In our second half, we'll talk about tonight's game, but I want to talk about kind of the season as a whole. Let's talk a little bit about the schedule this year, because it's going to look completely different than what the Cyclone fans, not only in the last couple of years, but that we've seen in a few years. Science Hill's the same and some of the conference, but let's talk about some of the new opponents that we have on your schedule.
Yeah, one of the things that I like is, 4A is a tough road. And 4A classification, the regions are back to the old, where there's almost 8 teams in a region set through. With that, it only gives us 3 non-conference games. For the first time, I can remember a long time, that we've had 3 our non-district games first, and then our district games straight through. I think that sets us up to where those 3 non-district games are getting us prepared for our region games. So at the end of those 3, regardless of what our record is, it's to get you prepared for the region schedule. And first time we're playing Tennessee High in a decade, which has been a great historical rivalry. And we grew up playing in football, basketball, baseball at the middle school. Our other sports play them here. And that's going to be a great rivalry. A new coaching staff that's involved there that we don't really know much about, even though they got some assistants, been there a long time. And then Westridge, it's just old Sullivan South rivalry. We've scrimmaged them multiple times, played JV games. I think this just gives us a new opportunity to play some different teams. I like preparing for different teams we haven't played for. Last year, preparing for Fulton, first time in the school year, so we played for them. It's just a different team. Haven't prepared them. I think a lot of times in our school, we got tired of playing Boone and some of the same teams over and over. So it's good to get at least 2 more teams on there in a different rotation that gives us a chance to play local, establish some great rivalries, and then hopefully it's really great venues to go play at.
And along those same lines, it's really a good setup for the playoffs, because not only this particular year do you have those 3 non-conference games, non-district games that you have, but 2 of the 3 are away. So you start getting kind of the travel legs under you a little bit.
Yeah, I think that right off the bat, traditionally 2 tough places to go play, and then the first game you're going to see a little 50-50. The next game maybe will be something different. Word on the street that Westridge has kind of gone to some flexbone option stuff. So it's just an opportunity really to see a lot of different things before you head into the season, the district play, and then really just kind of tells you a lot about your team. 2 great places to go play on the road, tough environments, a place we've not been in a long time. So, it's going to be a great test, great challenges, great obstacles for us, especially as young as we are in some areas. The opportunity to really grow and mature, and if you have an opportunity to play well in those games, I mean, when you come back home for that third game, you really can provide a lot of momentum.
Before I start asking about the scrimmage we had, there's two dates that we did back in the summer that really stuck out in the minds of the public. That was Not a Champions, and also Dinner to 50. Speak a little bit about those two.
Well, Tony, we wanted to provide an opportunity to the guys that we had. We've got 13 seniors, 11 of them have been here for 4 years. All 11 of the 13 have been starters since they were sophomores. And just provide an opportunity where, we're young in some areas. We've got a couple guys playing some new positions for the first time. We got multiple guys that are playing both sides of the ball in a lot of facets. But, just give those guys an opportunity to give them some spotlight. That's what the Night of Champions was. It was a lot of combine events. It was weight room experiences to give maybe the fans or the families an opportunity to see these guys on center stage, a lot of the work that they put in. People don't know about guys on our roster like Kyler McGovern, what Jaybird can do, the work that Justice and Zach and those guys, what they have to go through to prepare for a season. They just think we get in there and we bench press and squat. There's other things that we do. There was Farmer Walk, the young guys that we've been so proud of, and then the guys that take strength and conditioning class throughout the semester, throughout the school year, the things that they do and how far they've come and how far they've grown. It just gives them an opportunity to be in the spotlight. They choose a couple of events, they compete at it, and it kind of gives them an opportunity to, linemen sometimes are, not really glorified positions, and that was a night for them to really kind of showcase. We probably wish we could have done that in years past. And I think as a staff, you're going in year 19, you look at ways that things you can do better. And, that was a night I think that, our guys on our team will remember for a long time. And then Dinner at the 50 was just an opportunity for us to, sometimes at the end of the season, we got guys to move on to other sports, kind of a sports banquet, recognize the guys. It was really just been so inspired. That's kind of the word that we got by our group. Not really, obviously proud of them, but inspired by the work that these guys have put in. So much is asked for them, the things that they've done. There's been no complaining, just showing up and work. Just really been proud of those. So under the 50, once camp was at the final days, just a dinner to show our appreciation as a staff, support staff, from a coaching staff, just really inspired by the work that these guys have done.
And the thing that I took away from that and the Night of Champions was it brought everybody closer together, especially when you had the Dinner to 50. Is like, as you said, it gives you a second or a minute to take off your coaching hat.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. You prepare for the next game, practice, season, off season, whatever it may be. But, do you ever stop and show your appreciation? And maybe it's a time, too, that you get a chance to go around and meet different families. There's some that that you see at different sporting events. We've got so many rising freshmen that you get an opportunity to get around. And I think it's just so important that if you get an opportunity as a coach to brag on these young men in front of their parents, to let them know that, even some new guys, Bryson Lloyd's, for instance, a name, a kid that's, hasn't played for us, that's a senior, and man, like he's changed his body, he's changed his complexion, he's changed the dynamic of our football team by just the work that he's put in. And, when you have an opportunity to meet his parents for the first time and tell them, man, like it is a privilege to coach their young man. He's a good player, but all that he's even a better person. Those are the type of people that we want a part of our team.
Yeah, and I commend you for doing that. Now let's talk about the scrimmages a little bit. We had 3 scrimmages, 3 totally different styles of offense. You had Jeff County, and we had T.C. Roberson out of Inner City Asheville. Then we ended up, as always, with Union. Let's hit on all 3 scrimmages, especially on the Jeff County was our first, their second.
Yeah, I love the scrimmage against Jeff County, a team that's been in the quarterfinals. One of the bigger schools in the state, scrimmaging a new opponent for the first time in a long time. I thought it was fun going against those guys. Spencer Riley does a great job, who's, a well-known, established coach, runs a really good program, tough, physical, got some players. I don't know if we're going to see maybe tonight, maybe see some size different, but man, they had the defensive end and nose tackle that were pretty spectacular. And then the competition that those guys play, at 6A football, you're talking Farragut, Bearden, Bradley Central, Cleveland, on top of that, Dobbins Bennett, Science Hill. Just the opponents that they face year in and year out, week in and week out, it just gives you a chance to really show you, what we're capable of. And I really like that one on a Thursday night. And then TC Robeson, maybe the fastest team we may play all year. Yeah. It's a great one to get involved with. Probably 2 sets of corners that I don't know we're going to face any better this year. A really tough physical defense, 2 defensive ends that really put pressure on our offensive tackles. And then our last scrimmage against Union, just the depth, the size, old cornbread offensive linemen, great speed, athletic quarterbacks. It's just a really good opportunity for us to, 3 really good scrimmages, Tony. I mean, if you can survive the season and you go through, it's not just playing 10 regular season games, but man, like those opponents that we scrimmaged, you can almost count those as regular season games.
Yeah, and for me, looking outside in, from scrimmage 1 to scrimmage 2 to scrimmage 3, we continually got a little bit better on 2, and then from 2 to 3, it seemed like it was a lot bigger step.
Well, offensively, we got off to a hot start against Jeff County. We struggled some areas in defense, missed some tackles, allowed too many explosive plays. On Tuesday against TC Robeson, kind of the opposite. Our defense kind of held us in the scrimmage. Became a defensive battle for a long time. And then our third scrimmage, really collectively on both sides, was probably our overall best scrimmage. And then putting guys in tough situations, those many red zone situations. We put our kicker Will in some situations, and playing a lot like a game allows guys to go back and forth. And then as hot as it's been, it really challenges your conditioning, the execution later in the scrimmage. But we had a lot of big plays. We had a young freshman get a pick 6 for a touchdown. We had Justin Whitehead get a touchdown off of a pick 6. We forced some turnovers, forced some football, some opportunities there. So there's a lot of things you like. There's a lot of things you got to clean up. And ultimately, you're trying to create an environment to put the guys in situations that are going to simulate a Friday night experience. And I don't know if we've done that better than we did this year. In those 3 scrimmages.
And it was 3 scrimmages in 7 days.
Yeah,
so
pretty tough.
8 days. So,
pretty tough.
So that'll do us for segment 1. We'll go back to the station for these words. We come back, we'll preview tonight's opening contest as your Cyclones travel to Johnson City, take on the Hilltoppers. All that to come right after these words. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to second segment of Coach Shawn Witten Show. Coach, it's circled. You've circled it all the way since you did the schedule in February. This date is here. You ready to coach? What are you going through the emotions are you having right now going into your 19th year with maybe, as you say, the youngest team that you might have had?
Tony, every year you fall in love with your team and just the way they've gone about it. But there's really kind of something different about this team, the way that they've kind of shown up and it really worked. It's been fun to coach in some ways that when you leave, you're really ready for the next day. I found myself times, getting here at 5 o'clock in the morning, preparing for 7 a.m. practice just because you're just so ready to prepare to get these guys to the next step. And then, the thing that I've been most inspired of is, guys like Tucker Taylor and William McDuffie, some guys like, Kyler McGovern we mentioned, Sammy Orsburn, even some of the rising new guys that we've got that will be fresh names for us, like Callan Reed, a legend Pate, some of the young linemen that we've got that's been in the program within a year. But, we had a very tough JV season last year. We played and won 8 games. We played a tough schedule there. When you're coaching a lot of those freshmen and sophomores, you want to see how much they can develop and come on. And, guys like CJ became a better Friday night player because of all the reps he got on Monday night. So just been really just love the identity of our football team. Love what we're made up of. You know, when you got 3 guys like Wallen boys that we got, they've been super loyal. They've held this football team program together. As a coach, you're forever grateful for the work that they put in. When you return your starting quarterback for the 3rd season, that obviously makes things better. When you're anchored by Braden Rainwater as your center, makes things a little bit easier. You know, you cheer for guys like Braden, who's had 2 seasons of back-to-back injuries. You know, sophomore year he got off to a slow start because he broke his wrist, and then last year he wasn't able to finish with the torn ACL. But you just really pull for those guys because really and truly they could be doing anything else, but they've decided to stick with it and stay with our program. And as a coach, you know, you're really forever grateful for the work and the commitment that they put in. And
one thing that I've noticed, you know, coaching with the JV program and watching you coach with it is some of the people that play different positions, like Lennox Loveday, he come to you and said he want to move to tackle. So you're getting new people. You get McGovern at tackle or guard. You're getting Lennox at tackle. They're wanting to help in any way. So they swallowed the pride for a say, and they said, "What's better for the best part for the team?"
Yeah, and that's what you really love. I mean, that's especially being young. You know, they want it. They're so eager to get on the field. It's a little guy like William McDuffie. You know, he's a junior. He's been a running back, maybe a linebacker. You know, how can you get on the field? You know, he's learning H-back. He's a receiver. He's a running back. Is he really a receiver? I don't know, but he wants to be on the field so bad he can't stand it. You know, you're really proud of that. Tucker Taylor's another one. Riley Jones is another one. Calix Daughtery's another one. Man, just how far those guys have come in a year or two. You know, a lot of those seniors, Cooper Atkins, Riley Jones, they've waited 3 years to be their turn, to be their starter. You know, you're really proud of those guys because, you know, it takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of courage to show up each and every day and not get those minutes, not be that starter. And now when you wait your turn, in our time, in our past, Tony, we've seen a lot of guys, you know, become all-conference players their senior years just by investing, by developing. You know, a name comes to mind: Big Zach Harley, Little Zach Harley, Carson Stressman played 3 different positions. His last year he was an All-State defensive end. I mean, it just, you know, in this game a year ago, a kid named Billy Woodby played every snap on offense and defense at linebacker and H-back. I mean, it's just all about the developmental, you know, the guys sticking with it. And then, you know, just been super proud of the way that those guys want to coach. They want to get better. They're here every day. And you know, as a Lisbon Cyclone, that's really what our program's been about, you know, for you know, over many decades.
All right, now let's pick your brain just a little bit. Offensively, I'm gonna start on the offensive side. What do you want to see done tonight to get to Science Hill, to catch them off guard, and also to ensure that we've got a chance going into the 4th quarter?
Well, I mean, in tonight's game in game 1, I mean, it's about the explosive plays and limiting those explosive plays. I mean, you know, it's you know, I don't know, in the last, you know, 3 or 4 years, you know, we've not been explosive as we've typically been or what we've had in the past, but you know, it's, you know, the 2 things you really want to see. You know, when we throw the ball, I want Rhett's completion percentage to be, you know, higher than 75% this year. I think, you know, statistically, we got all statistical leaders back. We got 3 senior receivers. We've got running backs that got, you know, some of the best hands on our team. And, you know, unless you're throwing away the ball or, you know, you're doing things like that, you know, or you're not putting us in a bind. You know, statistically, you know, we should be able to get the ball to those guys' hands and catch the ball, move the chains. You know, you don't want to just be able to throw in incomplete passes and things. I feel like, you know, we should be able to connect, and our timing and our continuity should be better than it's probably been in the last several years. You know, whether you're dinking and dunking, whether you're taking shots down the field, a screen package, short game, intermediate routes, you know, misdirection, move the pocket routes. Like we should connect, you know, with guys like Zach Wallen, Justin Whitehead, Jack Blevins. You know, we should be efficient in our passing game as long as we give the quarterback time. And then the second thing is just, you know, I mean, you never want to turn the ball over in this game, you know. And when Jay Bird, Justice, CJ, Legend, you know, McDuffie, you know, we got to do a good job of you know, making sure that we don't turn the ball over. You know, we always believe in this game our special teams are an A++. You know, got like Will Bowers as a kicker, Justin as a punter. You know, we should be flawless in our special teams game. Zach and Justin returning punts, like the ball shouldn't hit the ground, you know. Hopefully tonight, Will Bowers does a good job if we're scoring points. You know, hitting touchbacks is critical, you know. When you go to Anderson County or deep in the playoffs and you got to go 80 yards on every time drives, it makes it tough. So those two areas you want to see us tonight be efficient.
Final question for turn to Stacy. Give me a name of one player other than the well-knowns, the Wallens and Dredd, that could be a difference maker.
Well, I mean, I think, you know, it's C.J. Mathis, you know, junior running back. You know, he got a lot of snaps on Friday night towards the end of the year. Last year, he's a hard-nosed runner. He's got a different motor about him in some ways. You know, he got a lot of JV snaps. You know, he's done some things. But, you know, from where we started the first of the year last year, from week 5 later on, he kind of continued to slowly work more into that role of being, you know, a good running back, down in the red zone, fighting for extra yards, catching some passes. Pass protection has been really a lot better. But, you know, just when you got several backs, you know, there's one that may step up, or there's one may have a better game than others week to week. But, you know, he's a guy that can be really explosive for us, running the football, pass protection, and catching the football out of the backfield. I really thought towards the end of the year he became a featured part of our offense. He's gotten bigger, he's gotten stronger, he's gotten faster, he's really explosive. And when you're talking about offensively, you know, you need explosive plays. You know, he's a guy that can provide that for us.
Not only that, he played some quarterback
Yeah.
JV games
Yeah.
there a couple
Yeah.
of times, didn't he?
Yeah.
Let's, we've talked about that you've got the Wallen boys back, of course you've got Rhett back, you've got Whitehead and Blevins back, so you've got some skill people there. Let's talk about the line a little bit.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit, some names on the line and what you expect to
Well,
see.
Stacy, I was at a middle school game last week, and a guy said, "You guys won all your 7-on-7 games, didn't you?" I said, "Well, yeah, but the game's won in the trenches. You know, it's not about 7-on-7." So tonight's game was really big about the trenches. You know, offensively and defensively. You know, that's the way it's kind of been. You know, they're super big, super talented. They got a lot of senior guys back on the offensive line. It seems like they got 2 senior defensive ends. They got a senior center. You know, they got, you know, a senior quarterback, you know, multiple running backs. But in the trenches from tackle to tackle, it really seems where this game is kind of, you know, took a turn for us over the last couple of years. But, you know, for us, offensively and defensively, you know, we're anchored by, you know, Kyler McGovern, Braden Rainwater. Riley Jones has been a productive defensive end in the scrimmages. Calix seems to have a motor that never stops. You know, it's a motor like the Mullins is. It's a motor like a, you know, Zeth Mullins, even an outside linebacker that can, you know, I don't know if he ever gets tired. You know, he's a sophomore defensive end. Lennox and Nolan Loveday are 2 sophomores that have gotten bigger, stronger. Nolan, as a freshman, played a lot of football last year on Friday night. He's done a great job. Lennox has stepped up. Tony mentioned, you know, he moved from tight end to non-offensive tackler. He's gotten bigger and stronger. You know, just some names of that. And you're talking about a lot of sophomore linemen that we've got. We've got a dozen or so sophomore linemen that are going to be thrown in the mix. You know, you're talking about Riley Greer, Ryan Green, you know, Brendan Orlana. You know, those are some of the new. We got John Hornyak, Lincoln Hornyak. You know, we got Cooper Atkins, we mentioned as a senior there. So the linemen we have, you know, it's kind of made up by community. We got a lot of sophomores that are going to get plugged in the mix. You know, we've tried to get them as much experience as possible, and you know, get the toughness, get the mentality. You know, I don't know if we've had anybody better than Coach Harrison has done that. Coach White has done that over the time I've been here. They really spent a lot of time with those linemen developing mentality. Those are some of the names that you're going to hear in the trenches that's going to help us this season.
And let's specifically about this game. We know they've got a couple of experienced running backs back, and you got the big old boy that came in as a transfer.
Yeah.
And you know, word on the street is he can sling it.
Mm-hmm.
How do you guard against that tonight? You don't really see Science Hill as the deep threat without the speedsters there. They've got a kid back there now that looks like he could throw it long. How do you counter that tonight?
Well, you know, Stacy, when we've lost this game, even going a year ago, you know, talking about, you know, a couple years ago at our place here, we didn't stop the run, we didn't stop the pass, we allowed them to keep us off balance defensively. We've got to do a good job. They've got multiple tight end sets. We've really made the game simple for them. They've kind of been able to run it, been able to RPO, throw it out there. They've really not had to push the ball downfield as much when they've won here at our place in 2022, and then last year here. When we made it difficult for them in 23, our outside linebackers were extremely athletic. Our defensive ends, chased the quarterback around all night long. We created turnovers. Ben Adams got a great fumble. Holzer dropped underneath and allowed Eli Blevins to get a pick six. We created havoc and chaos for the Q. I don't know, did that last year. We allowed him to kind of have his pick whatever he wanted to do. So tonight, really, if we can stop the run, that's going to help us in the pass. We've worked so hard on the back end where we're a little bit more experienced. Tonight, the scariest thing is they got a little bit more speed than we do. Is not allowing the ball to get to the perimeter. They got 3 running backs that will toke it. Not sure 3 running backs play much defense, but they're going to be fresh. I think that's an advantage for them a little bit. We've got to not allow that ball to bounce to the perimeter. When you've seen the scrimmages, when you see their personnel, those guys coming back, you're talking about two running backs for sure that really can get the edge, that can be dangerous for them. And that's the area that they've been able to kind of, when they've won this game, that's where they've had the advantage.
Coach Witten, as always,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for the Coach Shawn Witten Show. We'll hear a word from our sponsors here on WBJ 1079 The Bridge. When we come back, the 101st meeting between your Elizabethton Cyclones and the Science Hill Hilltoppers from Steve Spurrier Stadium. We'll be back after these words from our sponsors.